This clock hasn't seen the light of day for decades. The mechanism is absolutely filthy. When it fell down the stairs, it absolutely went with quite a bash because it has broken parts. I can see here this clock needed an overhaul before it fell down the stairs because you can tell in the holes they're absolutely black. So I've got to give it a full overhaul basically and do all the repair work, and I don't know what I'm going to find yet. Oh, that's tight. I'll have to try another screwdriver. Love using this screwdriver. It feels great. It belonged to my grandfather, and it just works. It's a ratchet screwdriver, and it's worked for 80, 100 years. It's just lovely. And my grandfather used it, so I'd love that. So these pallets are the part of the clock that actually ticks. You've got these pallets here, which on this clock, they're made of semi-precious stones like rubies. So in turn, these pallets go in between the teeth of the escape wheel, which does the tick-tock, tick-tock. And they're slightly chipped on one edge, but I think probably the working part of the escape wheel should be okay on it. So far, I found parts broken that I need to repair and wear as well. So I've got to strip the whole movement down to see just how bad the clock is.
Clockmaker Steve is in full swing. He's been cleaning all the individual parts of the Granddaughter clock, and he's now ready to begin repairs.
Right, I've got the bezel all ready to solder now. What I've done is wired it up. I've put these fire bricks around to hold it steady, and hopefully it's going to stay still and I'll be able to solder it okay. So I use silver solder, which melts at a far lower temperature and runs into the brass joint. The solders run beautifully.
Steve, meanwhile, is focusing on all the worn components in the clock mechanism. After decades of use, the part that regulates the speed of the strike has become very loose.
The bearing that it goes in, you see it's just flopping around in there. That's because the hole has really worn far too big. So basically, I've got to pop a tiny little bush in.
A bush is a minute ring of metal that closes up any holes that have worn too large.
So that bush is in now. Then I need to open up the hole. There's a very, very small hole, probably about 0.15 of a millimetre. So I'm using these little needle-like things. It's a 5-sided tapered cutting tool that we use for opening up holes. This one is probably as fine as a hair or an acupuncture needle. You just keep twisting it around until you get to a point where the pivot goes in. That's better. I've done all the bushing to the clock now, so I just need to reassemble the whole clock.
Steve, meanwhile, has almost finished reconditioning the Granddaughter clock, built by a beloved granddad over 50 years ago.
This has been quite a nice job to do, actually. It was in a heck of a state. You wouldn't recognise it now from how it looked before. We're ready to pop it into the case now.
The mechanism, bezel, dial and case may be reunited again, but will the clock start running?
I just pop the pendulum in and a nice even tick. That's good.